Hey, and welcome to the Neurodivergent Musician Podcast, where I explore the world of neurodiversity and musicianship. I'm your host, Jon Hart, along with Sabai, my Martin guitar, and today I'll be talking about impulsivity. Each episode is broken up into a traffic light format where I'll share insights in the red section, improvised babble in the amber, and a recommendation you might find handy in the green. So let's head on over to the red section for more insights. Okay, today we'll be delving deep into the world of impulsivity, uncovering its essence, understanding its significance, exploring its management, and examining its impact on various facets of our lives. So let's embark on this insightful journey. So what exactly is impulsivity? In a nutshell, it's that tendency to act on urges or make decisions without extensive forethought. It's the unplanned detour you take while composing, the impulse to purchase gear you don't really need, or that impromptu decision to collaborate on a new project. Impulsivity isn't solely a neurodivergent trait, but it often resonates strongly within our community due to our unique neural wiring. Why is it important to understand impulsivity? By unraveling the intricacies of impulsivity, we gain insights into our motivations, choices, and behaviors. Recognizing our impulsive tendencies empowers us to navigate life's twists and turns with greater awareness, making informed decisions and fostering healthy relationships. Now, it is difficult when we got, executive function issues and all the other things, but trying to be aware of these impulsive traits really is vital in us making decision-making in whatever area of our life. So how can we best manage this temptation? So let's explore some strategies. Mindful pause. When that impulsive urge surfaces, pause for a moment. Reflect on the potential consequences before leaping into action. This moment of reflection allows you to assess whether the impulse aligns with your long-term goals. Balance deliberation. While spontaneity is exhilarating, balance it with thoughtful planning to ensure your actions align with your goals. Before diving into a new project or career path impulsively, take time to assess whether it aligns with your overarching vision. Number 3 is open dialogue. In relationships, practice authentic communication, but temper impulsive remarks with empathy and respect for others' feelings. Sharing your thoughts and feelings candidly is essential, but being considerate of how your words might affect others enhances the quality of your interactions. Number 4 is healthy channels. If impulsive behaviors veer into unhealthy territories, seek out constructive outlets and professional support. Whether it's channeling your impulsive energy into your music or reaching out to therapists or support groups for guidance, healthy coping mechanisms are pivotal in managing impulsivity. Impulsivity isn't purely negative. It can be a powerful tool when harnessed effectively. Spontaneity breathes life into our creativity, propelling us to explore uncharted sonic landscapes. Impulsivity often leads us to the most genuine, unfiltered expressions in our music, making our compositions uniquely ours. However, it's essential to recognize the shadows that impulsivity can cast. It can lead to impulsive speaking that inherently hurts others or impulsive spending that strains our finances. Jumping into projects without proper planning can result in unfulfilled endeavors or burnout. This trait isn't confined just to one corner of our lives. It's a thread woven through various aspects. Such as music creation, impulsivity spices up our music compositions, but it needs a guiding hand to ensure coherence. Allow your impulsive sparks to ignite your creative fire, but refine them into compositions that retain their freshness while still making musical sense. And career choices. Impulsivity influences our career trajectories, driving us to embrace opportunities or perhaps overlook strategic planning. Find a balance between seizing opportunities that align with your vision and taking the time to plot a course that leads to long-term success. Relationships. Impulsivity affects our interactions, creating authentic connections while demanding tactful communication. Balancing your authenticity with empathy can lead to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. And addiction and coping. Impulsivity's role in addiction challenges us to challenge it into healthy coping mechanisms. Replace impulsive behaviors that lead to addiction with actions that nurture your well-being and growth. Remember that impulsivity is a multifaceted gem that can sparkle or cast shadows. By understanding it, we can empower ourselves to navigate life's labyrinth with clarity and intentionality. Embrace its vibrancy, master its ebbs and flows, and let it weave its intricate pattern into the fabric of your unique neurodivergent journey. So that's it for the insights. We're now going to go into the amber section for some improvised babble. See you then. So we're now into the amber section, and I'm going to go into some improvised babble. And as I think about impulsivity, you know, I was thinking about doing multiple episodes about this, but I just thought, you know, lump it all under one, and then I can kind of talk about it, you know, in an improvised way. But I suppose the first one is speaking. And I'm constantly impulsive speaking. And this is something that, you know, I call brain mouth, when you get something that comes into your head and it just flies out of your mouth. And you overthink it and you're like, oh, damn it, should I have said that? And yeah, definitely this can happen with neurotypicals. But I guarantee with neurodivergence, this happens 2, 3, 10 times more. Because we don't have that filter to tell us, think about what you're saying. And I've had so many times where, you know, my impulsive action when I start talking, I start actually more direct. It's very narrow-minded in regards to answering a question or the conversation, but it can veer off. And it's almost like my brain's just like, yeah, we're going to take you on, you know, around the houses and all around this. And this, you know, impulsive babble now is impulsive, you know, it's improvised. And there is a wonder in that. And some people absolutely love it because you're very open-minded about it. But people who don't understand it, you know, you can tell by their body language, are like, where are you going with this? You haven't even answered my question. And I know I've got to go around the houses to be able to get to the answer a lot of the time. Or, you know, maybe I've got to take a long pause. But when you take a long pause, that impulsive babble will start to come out. And it's got me in trouble a lot of the time, you know, especially when I've had things like alcohol. I've been, you know, I'm getting giddy on something, or I'm super positive about something. It just flies out of my mouth. And I can say things, you know, I've said things like maybe to my children and I'm like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because they repeat things. And it's got me in sort of situations before where it's just like, you know, I've said, oh, we do this impulsively without thinking about it. And then they come back going, you said we could do this. And I'm like, oh yeah. You know, and that happens to a lot of people because you say things just off the spur of the moment. But that happens so much to me because I feel like I'm dropping balls verbally all the time. And I feel like I'm in this kind of improvised jazz song all the time. Things are on track, but then, you know, you can throw a solo in there, you can throw something else in there, and I get I get an interrupt in my head, and I either lose train of thought, or, you know, it's like I'm talking to you now, and then there will be a bee or a wasp or fly just comes over, and I start looking at that, and then I start kind of veering off in a different direction. And I have tried to be aware of my impulsiveness when I'm speaking, and also just to embrace it. There's going to be times where I fuck up, and, you know, sometimes I can do it on stage in between songs, and I can just start going off on one. And I used to say it's going off on one, but it's just impulsive. That's just the way it is. And then you then get into like areas of spending, and, you know, I've heard lots of stories about folks with ADHD and ADHD tax, and in regards to the things that get missed. And so you end up spending a lot. Or, you know, you can go on and then you start going on a spending spree with money that you don't have. And that can obviously get, you know, really dangerous. And it's like, it's really impulsive, but it can get really addictive. And so you're always on this tightrope all the time. And I remember, you know, during COVID, I built all these courses, and then I started taking out credit to then go and buy courses to help me sell courses. And we're talking thousands, you know, £3,000 course here and a £3,000 course here, and to try and help me unlock this side of the business, because my business had sort of collapsed over COVID, and it was just getting really, you know, and I wasn't pragmatic. I wasn't realistic enough. I hadn't planned anything. I just threw myself into this new business and new ideas and all sorts of stuff. It feels like new projects come, or new ideas come into my head, but then I impulsively jump on them thinking that's the next best idea. And then I got myself in trouble. And, you know, I think it happens a lot with neurodivergent folk, not just musicians. You know, I know a lot of musicians who buy a lot of gear, and then they keep buying gear to think that that's what's going to make them better, but actually learning your instrument does. But then the next shiny object starts coming out, and I fulfilled my mission with regards to buying the gear that I needed, and luckily I haven't bought anything else. But when I started then, you know, running my business, you then start seeing all these selling, you know, software or programs or whatever it is. Good old paid ads, whether it's Google or Facebook, starts popping up. And then you're in danger territory, because they go, oh, you know, come and get my course for like, I don't know, 10 quid. And then before you know it, you're in a rabbit hole, because you've then ordered all the extra trimmings that go on top of it, and you're like 100 quid here. And I've impulsively bought it, but I just don't use it because I haven't got the time. And it's just like, oh, I've done it again. And I'm really trying hard holistically to take a step back and try my hardest to take a pause, you know, breathe if I can, and then respond with decisions going forward. Or you put it through a decision matrix, you know, a what, a why, a how, a where, a when, you know, and then you can give things a rating out of 10. But it depends on how, you know, how much adrenaline you've got going on. If you feel like shit has hit the fan, those decisions are just going to be like instant. You know, if I'm scrolling on Amazon, or if I'm scrolling on whatever it is, Google, and I'm looking at shopping or wherever it is, that sort of impulsivity is like a motor. It starts going around my head over and over and over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, do I need this, doing this? You know, I could be obsessed with getting myself a smartwatch. And I'm not talking about like hundreds of pounds. I'm talking about like, I don't know, 30, 50 quid. But that can consume my brain for, you know, for 24 hours. So I end up going like, I don't want to have this in my head anymore. I want to get it out of my head. So I end up just buying something. And then I use it for a few days, and then I haven't used it anymore. And it's like in the drawer, and I'm like, oh, this is another bloody impulsive purchase. You know, and things like my guitar and my computer and other things and stuff, I've used them all the time and I've made the money back and stuff. But there's lots of other shit that I've bought that are impulsive buys. And this is what can be classed as ADHD tax, you know, and I would research that up, you know, because it's basically kind of like embracing and accepting that, you know, I miss paying a bill, or I just go out and buy this and do this and do this. And planning, and that's where the executive dysfunction kicks in. But I think, you know, it can happen in so many areas of our life, whether it creeps up in our music business and you start impulsively buying stuff as well, where it happens in relationships where you impulsively start saying stuff and you kind of haven't tied it to what's going on in your mind. It's like sometimes, you know, between your head and your heart, I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say. I haven't really thought about what I'm going to buy or what I'm going to do. And sometimes that spending and that speaking, everything is about is filling a void. But a lot of times it's just things just flying out my mouth, things just flying out of my bank account. And if this resonates with you, what I do is just give yourself self-compassion. And a great way to work around impulsivity is to try and just put as many pattern interrupts, as many hurdles as possible. So, you know, take the apps off your phone, Amazon app off your phone, banking app off your phone. Maybe it's an action you've got to do before you say anything. And that's hard sometimes, depends on how fueled you are at the time. But you've almost like got to clench your fist, or you've got to do something, and that, you know, you might grab hold of your shirt, you might sort of do a drum beat on the side of your leg for like 10 seconds before you go and say anything, or before you go and do anything. Now, this is difficult when you're in the middle of a conversation with someone, but you could breathe, or if you clench, like, you know, a piece of clothing, and like clench, like tighten up for like 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and then loosen it for 1, 2, 3. That's something you can practice in your speech, and just try and slow down as much as possible. It's so hard to do. You know, I'm not saying this is easy at all, but I think if our foot's on the accelerator all the time, which a lot of the time it is, we're in this adrenaline state, and most of the time we're in fight and flight. So we're in survival mode. And if we're in survival mode, our heart is pounding. But the fight and flight, you know, that can be in a positive sense, where we're like, oh, yeah, it's amazing. Everything's amazing. I want to tell you, I want to show you, like, it's going crazy. And I think you need to physically figure out how to take your foot off of the accelerator. And the way I've been trying to do this, it doesn't work all the time, is to physically lift up one foot, as if I had my foot actually on the pedal in the car. Or if you're a drummer, you know, you've got a hi-hat and you've got your foot on the pedal. if I take my foot off the pedal in all those different situations, you know, I slow down, and instead of seeing everything that's blurry, you slow down, you start to get to see things clearly. And I think, you know, it doesn't happen all the time. It depends on what state of mind, it depends on how tired you are as well. You know, I've noticed that when I put the kids to sleep, after I've gone for that experience and I've gone through the whole day, I'm useless for the rest of the evening. I can't do anything. And so having a conversation, I guarantee I'm going to be more impulsive. If I open up, you know, my laptop, I guarantee I'm going to procrastinate and I'm going to be impulsive, and I'm going to go to like certain websites and scroll through videos. I'm going to go and buy something. I'm going to go and do something or say something that, you know, so it's trying to go, right, don't pick up the laptop. Don't go and do this. Don't go and do this. Maybe don't even have deep conversations, you know, have surface conversations. And I hate small talk anyway, because the problem is with small talk is I don't know the difference between short, medium and long conversation. So if we're having a short conversation, I can quickly go into medium or long. Or, you know, I had a conversation today and someone said, how are you doing? And I went off on one. And then I apologized at the end of it. And I was like, actually, do you know what? I don't need to apologize. I just need to accept and embrace that I do that. And if that person's response to me doing that, that's their problem. If they respond to it positively, brilliant. If they respond to it negatively, then, you know, that's not my problem. Unfortunately, I can't change the way I do these things sometimes. I can't change the way I'm how impulsive I am. And that's, again, acceptance and just embracing it. I can try and see if I can work on my bank account, you know, when you go deep into your overdraft or you start then getting loans or credit cards or whatever it is and stuff. That's, you know, you can get software that budget planners, then you see yourself in the red and you're like, I'm in the red. This is not a good place. And I've got to try and see if I can remind myself that when I get to a situation when I'm spending. But there are times where I'm like, I want to do this right now. I'm going to do it. Bang, straight away. I want to go to the cinema to go and watch the newest film. Okay, great. Bang, I've bought it. And I'm like, should I have really done that? But I have. And I used to be that person. I used to go to cinema and then I used to buy all the trimmings. Now I'm that person that sneaks things in, you know, popcorn or whatever it is, to try and see if I can save money here and try and do that. And trying to find that balance, I mean, that's a tightrope all the time. So that's kind of my impulsive insights to it. You know, please head on over to the Facebook group, which is Neurodivergent Musicians. Come and join it and come and let us know what your thoughts are, what your experiences are with impulsivity. That is my improvised thoughts in the amber section. Now I'm going to head on over to the green section for a recommendation. Okay, so we're now into the green section. I'm going to go through a quick recommendation here. And I've mentioned it already, but, you know, there's multiple things you can do. It's not really tools or objects. You can get like software for your spending that flashes up. You can put notifications, reminders that you're like, you know, try and think before you say and try and think before you spend and all these other things. But I would pause, breathe and respond before you go and make decisions if you can. Another good thing that I've found is that if I want to go and buy something, I go and ask someone else to pay it on my behalf. So I go to my wife and I want to buy this. Can you just check this and pay it for me with my card, or see if this is right? So I'm not impulsively doing it. Another thing is to try and delete all the apps off your phone. I deleted all the social media apps. I've deleted all the other things that can create that impulsivity and that adrenaline rush that I get from it. Because more often than not, when we're buying something, it's that adrenaline rush. But when it turns up, we're like, meh, you know. So it's trying to find that adrenaline rush in other areas. And I think the last thing is to write down all the impulsive actions that you do. You know, where does it show up in different areas of your life? If you write them down, because writing down is more powerful than jotting them into your phone, try and then, you know, expand on it. Try and find things you're like, well, this is the negative, but actually this is the positive of my impulsive actions. What can I do every day? One little action a day that could help me with this. Because it can put us in trouble when we're, you know, whether it's spending, speaking, or coming up with new projects and ideas and things as well, and jumping into things too quickly. It's like impulsively jumping in to anything with 2 feet straight away without any planning. What are hurdles? What are little pattern interrupts that we can do and barriers? Maybe it's someone around you that, you know, is loving and caring, that will do it in a loving and caring way to help you with that sort of interrupt, that barrier. Maybe it's a reminder you can set in your phone. Maybe it's, I don't know. These are all subjective and these are all personalized things, but I would just look at areas it shows up in your life. So that's it for the green section. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Please let me know what you think of the podcast, and if there's any subjects that you'd like me to cover or any guests you'd like me to get onto the podcast. And until next time, please check out the other bonus episodes, and I'll see you in the next main episode. Thanks so much for listening. Cheers. Take care. Bye.